create employment? How do we create economic development? And how does water play a role as an engine for economic development or agriculture development? She told me that time that this is the first lesson I learned in politics, that if you want to get the Prime Minister's attention, you have to speak about what water as a catalyst for economic development, how water can improve the lifestyle, the economic living conditions, not efficient water management, not hydropower, not all these issues. And since then, everything I've been doing, advising the ministers and the prime ministers now, all I want to do is see how they all, in the democratic country like Pakistan, the politicians know what is to be done. But what they do not know is how to do the right things and still be elected. And this goes not only in Pakistan, but also in US, but also in France, but also in UK. They know, the politicians know what needs to be done, but they do not know how they can do it and still be elected. And so that is some of the major problems we are facing in the transboundary water management. How do we bring water to the top of the political agenda, keep it there, and how do we keep our politicians interested? Talking about all this integrated river basin management, IWRM, I'm willing to, I have said that 20 years ago, Dr. Gilani, that 20 years later, we'll still be talking about IWRM, IRBM with no advances. And I will venture to say, next 30 years, come 2050, we'll be still talking of the IWRM, still be talking of IRBM. They'll go nowhere, but there's an industry that has gone up around IWRM, IRBM, the water professionals, the development agents, international development agencies. We have formulated a mafia, and our interest lies in promoting these techniques which do not work, rather than looking into what actually works, what benefits our people. So these are the fundamental questions we need to ask ourselves. Are we on the right path? And I have to say, so far, I'm afraid we are not in the right path, not only in Pakistan, but also most countries of the world, except perhaps Singapore. With that, Dr. Gilani, I'll end and I'll leave it to you and your colleagues to ask me any question they want, either now or later. They can contact me. Thank you very much.
Dr. Saab, it was wonderful advice. Let me share with you, the Pakistan took about 70 years to get first national water policy. And it got all the signatures of all the chief minister and the prime minister only on one note, which I got from Mr. Hashim, who was the architect of Indian water policy, that tells the prime minister that it will generate so much jobs and it will help additional GDP of so much billions of dollars. And that was the two items they could understand. We have to speak Greek or Latin, what language they understand. Yes, politicians understand, number one, the security of the nation. Second is the economic security, which means GDP growth and employment. I am extremely thankful for your piece of advice. Yes, we have the buzzwords of sustainable development also, and the IWRM. They will not work in any environment of distrust. So first we have to de-escalate the tension. We have to make an harmony and cooperation, which your institute is doing a very good job. And your leadership is providing an equal opportunity to all the people of the South. South will mean the South Africans, also Africans, and also the South Americans and the South Asians. So we are grateful for your lecture. I would like to share only one request to you. Dr. Please continue having a dialogue with our Center of Excellence in Water Society. I came into the civil service.
It will be a pleasure and privilege. Just get in touch with me. I'll be happy to interact.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We have taken a lot of time late at night. And I will request my colleagues who want to ask the questions, please send in writing. We will share with Professor. It is more than 12 at night there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. and good luck with the seminar. And
Thanks.
and all of you, please stay safe and healthy during these very difficult times of COVID-19.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Professor
Thank
Dr.
you.
Asif. Thanks to Engineer Nasir Gilani for concluding the second session of today's webinar. We are also thankful to the Professor Asif and Dr. Arun for the comprehensive speech on transboundary issue. Moreover, we are regret to inform that due to unavoidable circumstances, Engineer Merrill is unable to join. So now at the end, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Noor Mohammad Khan, Director, Center of Excellence, for final closing remarks and to handle the question and answer session. Sir Noor Mohammad Khan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wasim, Dr. Nasir Gilani, and Dr. Asif Biswas for your in-depth, knowledgeful talk in the last session. I think if Nasir Gilani sir want to say, because it seems Dr. Wasim did not let you conclude the whole session. If you want to say anything, Dr. Nasir Gilani, to conclude the session, or I can conclude the whole seminar.
Let me take this opportunity, being elder in age and pioneer in your center's building. I was one of the pioneer staff who started developing the courses there. And then, unfortunately or fortunately, I was lured by Dr. Mahul Haq to join the civil service. So I will give this seminar 3 points. One point is that we can approach to South Asian countries through international experts. Because approaching any expert from Pakistan to speak to Delhi is a problem, and from Delhi to Pakistan is a problem. But we have a diaspora which has a wide range and which has respect all around. And then we have the knowledge houses like ISI Board, like IMI, or the Mexico Institute of Water Development. That can help us to connect each other. And second point is that center now your center has developed fully now. This center has a lot of PhD students and a lot of master students and alumni. So please take lead. You will be a person and your institution will be an institution which will help correct many disorders, because we respect you people as an honest professional, because you are not the project eaters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gilani.
Sir, there is one announcement. Yes, sir. Sir, there is one announcement that Sir Mir Ali Shah Sahab has joined us. So I think we have to take over to the Mir Ali Shah Sahab for his speech.
So Gilani
Sir, Mir Ali Shah Sahab.
If you continue your session, please. Meher Ali Shah Sahab is available.
I will welcome Dr. Meher Ali Shah Sahab for the reasons we have been colleagues. And since he has an important role as an extra official capacity of the heading Pakistan Indus Commission. So welcome to Dr. Shah Sahab. Dr. Meher Ali Shah Sahab, we have been waiting you from since morning, but I can understand, being a former civil servant, that you have the time and commitments which are other than this. So welcome you, Dr. Meher Ali Shah Sahab. Please start.
Can the IT manager make him a presenter? I cannot see him in the presenter list.
Sir, we are trying to make it. Actually, his ID is not showing here, so that's why we are feeling some difficulty to make him as a presenter.
So, if he's not available, Dr. Nasir, take your decision as a session chair.
I think we can speak for each other on 2 or 1 issues for 2 or 3 minutes. So if he can join us, because
I think that we can have a question and answer session meanwhile, so that we can take some questions from the audience.
So now I think Meher Ali Shah Sahab have joined.
Yeah, sir, Meher Ali Shah Sahab have joined, sir.
Thank you. Welcome, Shah Sahab.
Welcome, Shah Sahab.
We have been waiting for you, and we extended this session so that you can join, because your presence is very much needed. Welcome, Sayyid bin Meghna Chaudhary. Start, please. Now, Meghna Chaudhary, please take over and make your presentation.
Can you please hear me? Can you please hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Thank you very much, everybody, and especially Dr. Gilani Saab. I am honored to be part of this very valuable session on this transboundary water matters, and I have been very delighted to hear the views of the distinguished participants of the session. Especially the session 2, which was presided by my senior colleague Nasir Gilani Saab, for which I have a lot of reverence. In my today's session, in fact, I plan to share my screen to show you the presentation. For which just give me a while. The topic of my presentation is the Indus Waters Treaty in the context of water sharing between Pakistan and India. Before I start with my presentation, I would like to convey my appreciation to the very valuable thoughts shared by Dr. Asit K. Biswas, which are very close to my heart. And while working in the government, this is one of the main areas where we really feel that the political will is the most important thing. Everything has been said by Dr. Biswas in this regard is in fact the key issue in order to improve the water security in the country at the river basin level or whatever. So just let me share the screen to present the PowerPoint slides. Please hold on for a while, and I'm sorry for this inconvenience. The participants, please let me know whether you can see the presentation.
No, sir, I think we cannot see you. See your presentation here.
I think it is now perhaps visible.
Yeah, sir, now it's clear.
Yeah. So the contents of my presentation are the Indus system of rivers, a brief overview, which I will most likely skip because so almost all of the participants have a very good understanding of it. Then followed by the historical perspective of the Indus Waters Treaty. Yes, I will briefly give you an overview of this historical perspective to basically set the pace of my presentation, and the treaty itself very briefly, followed by the water issues with India and the and their bases and the way forward. So as we already know that this is the Indus system of rivers and the Indus Basin, which is basically shared mainly by the four countries: Pakistan, India, China, and Afghanistan. And in terms of million acre feet, which we are which are the units with which we are familiar in Pakistan. So this is the total average annual runoff of the Indus Basin, out of which 137 million acre feet is so basically relating to the western rivers, and 34 million acre feet from the eastern rivers. And if we see the irrigated area in the Indus Basin irrigation system, so at the time of partition, this was total 26 million acres, which has now increased to 66 million acres, and out of which at the time of partition, Pakistan had 21 million acres, whereas India had 5 million acres irrigated land from the waters of the Indus system of rivers. And that has increased to 45 million and 21 million acres, both in Pakistan and India, respectively. This is the main infrastructure presently in place in Pakistan concerning, we have 2 big reservoirs and a small one, with the total capacity of almost 13.5 or 7 million acre feet. In the public sector, the hydropower is almost around 9,400 megawatt, which generates 41 billion units of electricity. We have 18 barrages to divert basically river flows into canal system, and then there are the inter-river link canals and the irrigation canals and water courses. This is basically the annual variability of waters of the western rivers, where we can see that every out of 4 years, we have got 1 dry and 1 wet, and 2 almost the average years. And we can see that in terms of moving average, the water availability of the western rivers is almost same, but the trend has got changed around somewhere mid 70s to 80s. And now after 80s, we can see on the slide that the extreme events, the occurrence of the extreme events have been increased relatively as compared to the past. So this may be potentially attributed to climate change thing. This is the temporal distribution within a year. Almost 85 to 90% water is available in the rivers during Kharif season, the wet season, whereas the remaining 15 to 20% water is during the rest of the years. This is the storage capacity, which I have already mentioned. The groundwater position in the country is, again, you can see that along the rivers, basically it is fresh. And then when we move away from the rivers, which we call the doabs, the area between the 2 rivers, the quality gets deteriorated. It is concerning Punjab when it comes to Sindh province. So we can see that, again, there are the fresh water available in the aquifers along the rivers, whereas all other land in the Sindh province is deprived of this fresh water. The historical perspective of the Indus Water Treaty is that Punjab was basically partitioned, as the subcontinent was partitioned in 1947. So the province of Punjab was also partitioned into West and East Punjab. And the important headworks at that time were the Firozpur and Madhupur headworks, which used to feed about 1.7 million acres in the Western Punjab, which is now in Pakistan. But these 2 headworks were given to the Eastern Punjab, India. Now, I would like to share a small excerpt from the Radcliffe, who was basically heading the Boundary Commission. And he said that, "I think it only right to express the hope that where the drawing of a boundary line cannot avoid disrupting such unitary services as canal irrigation, railways, and electric power transmission, a solution may be found between the 2 states for some joint control of what has been a valuable common service." The Committee on the Division of the Physical Assets was formed to settle the questions of the future management of joint assets by Punjab Partition Committee, and the committee gave a unanimous report on the issue of post-partition water shares of East and West Punjab, which was that the committee is agreed that there is no question of varying the authorized shares of water to which the 2 zones and various canals are authorized. Accordingly, a standstill agreement will continue status quo till 31st March 1948 was made between Chief Engineers of West Punjab. Then at the expiry of that standstill agreement, what happened was India cut off the supplies to Pakistan from Madhupur and works on 1st of April 1948. So that was the time when the treaty, the making of the treaty was basically initiated. And then there is David E. Lilienthal's article in the Collier's famous magazine Collier's, which was published on 4th of August 1954, in which the punchline is that he was again taken with surprise that why the flow of the Punjab's lifeblood was so carelessly handled in the partition. No one seems to know. So this is basically a referral to the committee's findings that there are no question of varying the authorized shares of water to which the two zones and various canals are authorized. I mean, this is how the things were taken. Then there are a few excerpts from the books of President AYUB Khan and the chief negotiators from the Indian side named the ND GULHATI. The President AYUB Khan in his book, Friends Not Masters, mentioned that we were in a position of weakness all along the line. And then he said that, let me tell you that every factor was against Pakistan. And I will say this, that if we can get a solution which we can live with, we shall be very foolish not to accept it. This problem, not tackled properly, may well mean the end of the country. And so we are making the great sacrifices. The solution that we had finally arrived at was not the ideal one, but it was the best we could get under the circumstances. So, gentlemen, and the honorable lady, that this is something which can present you the circumstances prevailing at that time when the government of Pakistan was inclined to enter into this Indus Waters Treaty, even at a cost of foregoing its water rights of the three eastern rivers, which were established before partition in the canal commands of the Satluj and the river Ravi. Similarly, I would like to share with you the excerpts from the ND GULHATI's book, in which he says that how, he went through during the proceedings of the preparation of the treaty, where once very interesting reading I would like to share with you, that generally I sleep well and long, and I retire at about 10 p.m. and have to make no particular effort to go over. But the night of 5th February 1954 stands out in my memory as one of the few nights when I lay tossing in bed, and in spite of repeated efforts could not go to sleep until well after 2 a.m. The proposal made by the bank earlier that afternoon was to me much more than an unusually important event with which I was officially concerned. It was indeed a matter of great personal significance, and my mind was unusually tasked. There was much that I was thankful for. It seemed to me that the bank proposal was a vindication, in essence, of the stand that India had maintained in regard to the water dispute for the preceding 6 years, a stand for which I was responsible in part. Indeed, the bank proposal was more than a vindication of the Indian outline plan. So this is how that Pakistan sees that, yes, we are party to the Indus Waters Treaty, and we want to remain party to the Indus Waters Treaty because of so many factors which are beneficial for both Pakistan and its neighbors. But these were the very tough circumstances in which this treaty was founded, and the deal was basically broken bank on terms in which Pakistan had to forego a sizable quantum of water on which Pakistan had already established its rights. Now, the Indus Waters Treaty, I think we all know that it is comprising 12 articles and then annexures from A to H, which becomes almost 8. The main subjects in the treaty which are dealt with are the river water rights of both the parties on the eastern and the western rivers and their obligations. The hydropower generation rights of India on the western rivers, which are mainly runoff river as well as the projects. Agricultural uses allowed to India on the waters of the western rivers. The exchange of river and canal flow on reciprocal basis. Supply of advanced information about extraordinary floods. And maintenance of international drains. Future cooperation. And mechanism of the settlement of disputes. So these are the broader contours of the treaty. Article 2 relates to the eastern rivers, or the water of which have been given to India for its exclusive use. And Article 3 deals with the western rivers, on which Pakistan has given the unrestricted use of the waters of the western rivers. Some uses allowed to India definite qualifications in the form of substantive annexation provided in the Indus Waters Treaty. These are the areas allowed to India to irrigate, which are on the effective date, those were 642,000 acres of land. And the additional area allowed to India to irrigate from the waters of the western rivers was almost 701,000 acres. So total becomes 1.3 million acres with no mention of the quantity of water. I mean, the important thing to note here is that even if there are drought conditions, India's entitlement does not change. And being upper riparian, India has all the right under the treaty to take water to irrigate its lands. And we all know that when there are the drought conditions, the irrigation demands also increase. Coming to the design criteria provided in the Indus Waters Treaty for India to abide by while construction of new run-of-river hydroelectric projects, the main contours of these design criteria pertain to the freeboard, the pondage, the outlets below the dead storage level, the spillway, and the intakes. Now, this is a sketch for the benefit of the participants of this webinar, that you can see there is a longitudinal profile of a river on which a dam has been constructed. And the blue lines are basically showing the water stored behind the dam. That is basically the reservoir. So we can see that in this sketch, the drawdown concept is very important for Pakistan in order to ensure that any infrastructure development by India on the western rivers will not provide India to have the control over the waters of the western rivers. The main aim of the treaty is that the control in the hands of India would be minimal, even if India was allowed to construct the run-of-river project. So in this, you can see the red dotted line. This is the minimum operating level or the dead storage level, below which India is not allowed, or the treaty prescribes for India to draw down the water level in the reservoir below this red dotted line. That is the dead storage level. And the water volume above this dead storage level is called the pondage, which is basically to provide the peak power during the lean flow season, when the water is less than the requirement of the hydropower stations to generate its installed capacity 24 hours a day. So what happens is that the treaty allows India, if India opts for to develop its hydroelectric plant, the run-of-river hydroelectric plant as a peaking plant to generate hydroelectric power during the peak energy demand time in a day. So India can build a small pondage according to paragraph 8C. And then the treaty basically requires India, in order to minimize the control in the hands of India, that the outlets below the dead storage level shall be placed at the highest possible level. Now, what happens that if this provision is violated, the control, the practical control, which goes in the hands of the upstream riparian, goes all the way almost near to the riverbed, which means that there is a likelihood that if the upstream riparian desires to basically empty the water stored in the reservoir, it can do up to the river bottom level. This is the permitted range of reservoir fluctuation, and this is the proscribed or prohibited range, which is not allowed to India. Now, the contention starts with this, that whenever Pakistan receives the designs of new run-of-river projects from India, like Baglehar, like Kishanganga, like Ratle, so many, I mean, others. So there are a number of projects on which so India is going along with this approach by providing these spillway gates much closer to the river levels. And what India justifies its placement of these spillways close to the riverbed is that this is required in order to flush the sediments below or past the dam. In fact, the treaty says that the only control which India can exercise on the run-of-river plants is limited up to the dead storage level, and below which this is for India to find and secure a place where India can construct any such project on which it can generate safely its hydroelectric power. While going by the industry practice, again, there are several ways and means to achieve the objective of the sediment management, which are, of course, known to Pakistan, that the basically ingress of the coarse sediments into the power turbine is quite detrimental to the metallurgy of the turbines. So what the industry practice provides for this kind of a problem is that in order to exclude the flushing option, there can be sluicing, and there can be tactical dredging, and there can be descenders, in which before entry of the water into tunnels allow the water to basically move at a very